Hey, good morning, Zinger Nation. It's Jonathan Mallard and Ryan Faloona here again with another Benzinga Pro showcase. Ryan, great to see you, man. How's your weekend?
It was great. Thanks for hosting me in lovely Detroit. Had an absolute blast. I got to say, for anyone out there that's never done a pedal pub, you should try it. Google it, look it up, get involved. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially in Detroit. Come to
That's
Detroit.
right.
Come to Detroit and get involved. Ryan, I gotta admit, I threw some biotech stocks on Twitter this morning, and they pretty much all gap and crapped. So there you go.
Well, you know what, Jonathan? That's what happens, right? The market, there's never going to be guarantees, and things that are up in the pre-market are not necessarily going to be up in the regular session. But key advice from my own experience, keep an eye on those because you never know what's going to happen around lunchtime or in the afternoon. Sometimes you get that late day pop after it sells into support. So don't give up on those things yet.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even as I was prepping for this little segment, I was seeing a couple of those come back up and test those opening levels. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, awesome. Now, one of the things I might be able to throw you a lifeline here, Jonathan, because one of the things that we talked about not long ago is we went into our news feed and we covered some of our filtered categories. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier for you guys to see. We covered some of these categories that come pre-highlighted in red: exclusives, hot, and market moving exclusives. And I want to draw your attention to the exclusives again. Today, if you had those turned on as per our suggestion, you would see that we're actually alerting you that we are going to be interviewing the CEO of ShareCare, the founder and CEO of ShareCare here, which is a merger partner for FCAC, Falcon Capital. So this is a SPAC merger where we are going to interview the CEO, and it's possible that this interview and these headlines coming out of this interview create a trading opportunity or even multiple trading opportunities. And again, I'm drawing this to your attention because if you had it here, you had it, you're first. You're ready to go. You can get that interview on. You can watch the stocks. You can trade them if you see an opportunity that meets your risk profile. So really important categories to turn on. I also advise keeping these on because we are going to have the Coinbase listing coming up here, and you're probably going to get a lot of headlines through these three categories about those listings. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you have these three on. I'm going to be watching Chris and Mitch on SPAC Attack later today to figure out what's going on with FCAC here.
Absolutely. I mean, just as the brand continues to grow, we get more and more quality content on those interviews. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, and to have him on our YouTube channel last week was just awesome. Having them talk about SPACs and crypto and NFTs, all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely pay attention to the exclusive category. And even today, we should have some more good content there. In addition to the exclusives, if we're talking about speed, you want to get ahead of those press releases with exclusive content. But even after things are released, many times the Squawk is the fastest possible way to get that information. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here for a lot of people who use Charlie's wonderful voice on a day-to-day basis. But if you press that blue play button after you hover over the Squawk icon, you'll activate the broadcaster. And whenever Charlie sees something that's important, immediately he broadcasts that to all of our users. So that's not a consistent flow of audio like me talking to you right now, but rather only when there's an important headline. So maybe every 5 to 20 minutes or so, you'll hear something through your computer speakers. Also, notice how there's a little beta button underneath the normal Squawk. Go ahead and test out the Squawk equity feed because that's going to be the same content as the original Squawk, but with a new and improved infrastructure. We just want to make sure everything's absolutely perfect before we get rid of the original Squawk. And as you can see, we're doing some testing for additional Squawk feeds for options, crypto, you name it. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And Ryan, I know you use Squawk a lot, right?
I sure do. I sure do. This is one of my favorite. In fact, Squawk is what got me into the Benzinga ecosystem years ago when I first started, long before I even worked here. That audio feed is second to none. I've tried several different audio feeds. None are as good as Charlie. We're very, very lucky to have them. But just how this works, being able to react to something that you're hearing over your speakers, much quicker. And the other thing is this is one of those things where the more you use it, the more you're going to become acclimated to it, the faster you're going to be able to react, the more you're going to recognize things that you've heard before, the more you're going to get used to Charlie's voice and his accent, and you're going to be able to react in these things really quickly. This is my favorite tool. Now, Jonathan, I'm glad that you brought up the beta Squawk, because I wanted to illustrate something that a lot of users see, and I just want to clear up some of that confusion. So at first, I had the regular Squawk turned on, and then there is the Squawk. So you can hear it. Now I'm going to mute it for the rest of our example. But I had the Benzinga Pro Squawk turned on. As per your instructions, Jonathan, I turned on the beta one because you're right. The Squawk Equity in beta is the new architecture. You should have a lot more stability, especially if you're on Wi-Fi. So all of you Wi-Fi users out there, please try the Squawk Beta Equity. However, notice that when I pressed play, I actually got an error message and I got a red light on the original Squawk. Even though it's a red light and there's a Squawk audio stopped air in the upper right, this is actually working as intended. The way that the Squawk works is you can only have one audio feed playing per account. So while I can open up Benzinga Pro in as many different windows as I want, I could log in on different computers if I wanted to. The only restriction that I have is the Squawk. So even when I'm in the exact same browser, if I turn the beta Squawk on when I have the regular Squawk already turned on, you're going to get this error message. That does not mean your Squawk is not going to work. In fact, you just heard Charlie come across the speaker here when I had this turned on. So just be aware of that. In the future, we're going to get rid of the older Squawk. There's only going to be the one with the new architecture on there. It's going to solve a lot of that confusion. But for right now, just understand, as long as one of these lights is green and it says that you're connected waiting for audio, things are working. You can go ahead and clear this error message away. If you have an OCD thing like I do, and the red light bothers you, simply refresh your platform and then turn on the beta Squawk and you'll be good to go. So again, my favorite tool. I've been using it since day one. I'm glad we're able to cover it, but be aware that we're trying to upgrade it right now.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's not aware, in terms of the browsers that work best with Benzinga Pro, usually Google Chrome works really well, Safari, and Mozilla Firefox. And there's a Chromium version of Microsoft Edge that will work, but the default version will not work. And stay away from Internet Explorer. Honestly, I don't know. You must just think differently than me if you use Internet Explorer, because I hate it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Stay away from it. Microsoft doesn't even support it anymore. There's plenty of better choices out there. Jonathan, I did get one question here. I wanted to hop in. Irish Looper is asking, hey guys, are there any plans to add TSX to Benzinga Pro? Great question. Yes, there is. We are currently working on expanding into Canada. We want to expand into a bunch of different markets. I believe there's already TSX press releases that you can get through our platform, but we're working on expanding that coverage into a bunch of other sources. So keep your eye out for that. That's definitely something we're looking to add. And I see another comment here. Charlie had called out ticker PLBY. That's the Playboy Group news, and look at that pop. Definitely a great feature. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. Charlie knows his stuff. Let me go ahead and pull that up here.
Yeah, that is a huge move. And always keep in mind too that people will trade this on the way up or on the way down. So as you look at that huge green candle on the 1 minute chart, I'm sure some people will ask, well, how possible was it to actually get in on that? And I'm sure if you have lightning hands, maybe you could have scalped that or something, but people do short it on the way down as well after that initial pop. So it just depends on your trading strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point. I mean, if you're a scalper you're probably only looking for 5-6 cents, maybe 10-15 cents, depending on the price of the stocks that you trade. But I mean, remember what price discovery is. When new news is being digested, whether it's Squawk or from a news feed or from the Wall Street Journal, or wherever it's from, as that news gets digested, price discovery takes place. And it's not as if, a piece of news comes out and a stock just goes to a specific price. There are sellers and buyers that are going back and forth here. And that action is actually what you see being played out here on the screen, right? We had the initial pop off the Squawk. It popped all the way up to 32. It came back into 30. So there's a $2 range there. Now we're trading up from that. We're up 42 cents off that bottom. So I think what Jonathan's trying to say here is don't look at the Squawk as if it's anything that he's shouting out is an alert to buy. What he's shouting out is something is happening in the market. And then us as traders, it's going to be our job to capture that. So as Jonathan mentioned, maybe you have a short scalp strategy where you can short some of these pops. If you do that, be careful and have some protection in case it continues to run. Maybe you have a long-term buy, or excuse me, a long bias, and you want to wait till that stock actually comes into support or breaks some type of channel or range that it has set before. Again, a number of ways to use the information on Squawk. Just understand that we're giving you that news as fast as possible. How you trade that is up to you, your risk profile, and how you like to trade, your strategy.
And Joe was asking in the chat here, she was saying, he or she was saying, someone in the boot camp was doing ratios on the charts, like XLE to the SPY. I assume that's just comparing the different symbols, correct?
Yeah, I actually wasn't sure, Joe. I wasn't sure what you meant either. Let me know if this is what you mean. If that is in fact what you mean, here's what you would do. Let's say you want to measure the energy sector versus the SPY, right? First, you want to pull up the energy sector. This is going to give you a price. Maybe let's go to a daily chart here, and then we're going to click this compare button, and this is going to allow you to compare this to any other symbol. So in your example, if we want to compare this to SPY, boom, here you go. Now what we have here, let me make this a little bit more visible. That purple is pretty, but hard to see. So let's go ahead and change that to orange. What we have here now is you have your traditional price graph of XLE in the red and green candles, and then your SPY line is this orange line, right? So you can see here you're giving a percentage basis on the right-hand margin here. Joe, let me know if this is what you were talking about in your example. If this is exactly how you do it. Couldn't be simpler.
All right, we have some other news related questions here about the Boeing strike impact, and then Biden meetings about the chip shortage impact.
Okay. So Joe is saying this is not it. Joe, if you can, go ahead and shoot me an email. I would be happy to demonstrate this as early as tomorrow for Jonathan and I's next session here on Pro. I'm just unfamiliar with exactly what you're asking. So Jonathan, did you want me to pull up a news feed here?
Sure. I mean, let's just take a look at Boeing and see how that's reacting and when our news came out. And I don't know if we'll have time to get to. I mean, pretty much with the chip shortage, you could just look up a key phrase or key term in the news feed. You could just look up chip shortage or shortage and see what comes up that way. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we're talking about two different things here. So Alexander was asking about the Boeing strike impact. I actually have no edge on this. That's something that I would actually take a look into. That is very interesting though, because if you've been following us for a while, I've been a bull on Boeing, and even when this was selling down sub 100, you can see here my note 142 and 122 support levels, 300 plus upside. This note was put in quite a long time ago. Look where we're at here, folks. We are definitely up off those low 100 supports, and we are making a run at 300. So Boeing, definitely something that I'm interested in. Definitely something that I'm going to follow. Alexander, I apologize for not having the edge today. I will absolutely take a look into that and see if there's any other information that I can provide for you next time.
Yeah, but I do remember us talking about Boeing months ago when it was really, really down from the MAX aircraft, and we're talking about, you know what, those government contracts aren't going anywhere in the short to midterm. So as long as those government contracts keep that revenue coming in, Boeing is going to keep on trucking along. So that's just I still think that rings true.
Yeah, and again, when it comes to these airplanes, remember, yeah, they're going through some trouble right now. They're going to get this fixed. Boeing has elite engineers. They have an elite team of people there. I'm sure they're going to get these planes fixed. And once these planes are ready to go, you're going to see a new great airplane from Boeing, just like you have continued to see in the past.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us today. And until next time, happy trading.
Happy trading.
All right, let's do a news desk update with the Newsmaster General himself, Steve Krause.
How's it going? I love that intro. It's very hype.
It's different that we have a breaking news intro that I can play if you want. I have it saved for whenever there's like serious breaking news, like midstream, that I need to interrupt.
Well, I think we should hold it because I feel like we should hold it for
I'm saving it for someone dying, basically, is what I'm saying.
Sure. Like, so did DMX get it on Friday? Sorry.
No.
Sorry. Too soon.
DMX did not get it.
Sorry.
Why am I even laughing at that? Oh, man. Rest in peace, man.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. All right. Steve, news me. There's a lot going on today.
There's a lot of little bits of news here and there. So I think we should obviously start with the big M&A of the day, Microsoft and Nuance. So Microsoft is buying Nuance for around, what was it, 19 billion?
Yep, I'm going to bring up the chart here. Yeah, it's 56 a share, I think is what it comes out to.
Yep. 56 a share, 19 billion. It's a pretty big grab from Microsoft.
Yeah, interesting too, because this is their third, and I mentioned this on pre-market prep this morning. This is their third major acquisition just in the last few months. They closed their acquisition of that video game company. Here,
Bethesda.
No. I'm talking about ZeniMax, which they closed. That closed in March. Then they announced like a month ago that they're buying Discord, right?
Well, ZeniMax owns Bethesda.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. It's the pair. Yeah, it's like the big. Yeah, sorry.
Man, corrected on that. Then you got Discord. Now you've got Nuance, which they've got their buying shoes on. The release, I looked quickly, so they're going to use Nuance mostly to build out their healthcare cloud, which has already been a thing that Nuance and Microsoft have been doing together. So it's going to go more towards that. But also Nuance helped develop Siri. It was Nuance's technology.
I actually didn't know that. Yeah,
Nuance had like the voice recognition software that Apple used for Siri.
Interesting. So this is maybe to beef out their Cortana, their voice search.
Maybe. This was a report over the weekend, confirmed this morning. So Nuance, you can see, is up. Microsoft is probably going to be down. Actually, it's flat. Actually, Microsoft is up relative to the overall market today, which is interesting because Microsoft is flat and the market is down a couple 0.2%. So.
Microsoft's one of those companies like Apple, like Amazon, where when they acquire a company, it actually doesn't, it tends to not even move the actual core stock. I mean, they're just, it just shows more buying power. It just shows that they're in an aggressive mood. So I feel like, investors aren't really going to push it down right now.
Yeah. So typically you see companies acquirers get hit in the short term, in the immediate reaction, like the day of. These are very typically short-term moves, but as Steve just said, Microsoft is so big. This is a drop in the. How much cash does Microsoft have? Let's see.
That's a great question.
Microsoft has $14 billion in cash on their balance sheet, and this is a deal. I mean, they're obviously going to fund it with not just cash. So it's a $19 billion deal. Microsoft's got. Let's put it a different way. Their market cap is $1.7 trillion.
Yep.
So
they're going to be able to fund it in a variety of ways, and over a longer period of time as well. So
yeah, exactly. Drop in the bucket. All right.
Yep.
What else we seen out there, Steve?
So we've got this Baba news. So I haven't read into this as much as you have, I believe, but from what I understand, there's an overhaul of Ant Group going on in China. With they're basically going to be under the wing of the Chinese central bank due to some financial.
Well, that wasn't what was announced this morning. That was previous. The news this morning was the fine.
The fine. Oh, okay. I thought that the overhaul was the news this morning.
I don't believe so. I think it was just the fine news. Yeah,
the 34 billion. Or what? No, what was it?
I guess there was some news, but the fine was
not 34 billion. I apologize.
2.8 billion, which well, it wasn't. It was $2.8 billion, which in won comes out to like, I don't know, a lot more.
Yeah.
But basically, you've had this situation between Alibaba and Jack Ma and the government now going back months. Pull up the daily chart, and the market's saying, "Okay, looks like we're done. Looks like it's over."
Yeah. I mean, I think Ant Group was, last year expected to IPO as a separate company. Baba kind of trades kind of like, SpaceX does with Tesla, right? Where it's like, it's not public yet, but, Ant Group news affects Baba. And so we're just, Ant Group is being taken over by the Chinese government a little bit more. Someone said to explain the overhaul. So basically, the Chinese government is putting down stricter regulations on internet companies in China, specifically Chinese, telecom companies, Chinese tech companies. So Wall Street Journal reported that in a statement, the People's Bank of China said Ant representatives were summoned to a meeting Monday with 4 regulatory agencies that also include the country's banking, securities, and foreign exchange overseers. It said a, quote, comprehensive, viable rectification plan for Ant has been formulated under the regulators' supervision over the past few months. So basically, Ant Group, which was, Jack Ma has, as Spencer said, always had this battle between the government and and not trying to be in control of them and not trying to give them too much power. And it looks like with this fine and with their legal wrangling, they're able to basically do some restructuring of Ant Group.
Yeah. Yep. So it appears that, at least for now, the market's saying, all right, it looks like the regulatory hurdles, the unknowns, that's the big thing, right? Is the market hates unknowns. The unknowns are known. It's clear skies. And Alibaba is up 7.5% this morning on a day when the FXI, the rest of China, is down 0.5%. So really moving against the overall Chinese market, at least in U.S. trading here.
Yeah.
Today. But you compare it to Baidu, which is down. You compare it to JD, which is down. But Alibaba looking pretty, up 8%. All right, what else you see?
Yep. So we have some political. Okay. I wouldn't call it political, but I would call it conflict. Some conflict news over the weekend. So we have an Iranian nuclear site shut down. Basically, there was a blackout at a nuclear site that's going to set back the Iranian government months, if not years, in terms of enrichment. And the people, who have claimed basically the attack is Israel, and the U.S. government is basically confirming that. So basically, we're seeing heightened tensions in the Middle East, and we're seeing some aggression. So some active and aggressive action on Israel's part towards Iran.
So this is good. This is good for us, I would suppose, right?
I mean, yeah. Look, it's. I would say, since Iran is trying to create nuclear weapons and probably sell them and use them as in a threatening way, it's probably good for the West. I would it's safe to assume that. But that that's a story to watch out for, to see if there's going to be some retaliation, some retribution. These things always tend to escalate.
It's interesting because there isn't a lot of there's no clear catalyst right now for the market. We're sort of operating in this really no man's land where we're like in a lot of ways past the pandemic. And there are some other fears like inflation, but the economy looks pretty strong overall. There's like a vacuum of a clear catalyst. We're not looking at trade war for the moment with China.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe what we're missing here is some tensions in the Middle East. Maybe that's what we need.
That's true.
Is some escalated tensions in the Middle East to get us all excited.
Yeah. Remember January 2020 when we had the tanker situation going on?
Yeah.
And remember when John Bolton was fired on Twitter and the crude futures tanked because he was a Iran hawk, you know?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. We're getting back to that. Although, you know, I mean, I'm looking at crude right now. Crude's still at above $60 right now.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't seen really much volatility. I mean, you know, we saw some volume, looks like at 6 a.m., but, you know, really over the last, it's really just it's fine. There's no large moves in there. So I assume the market is just predicting that this is not going to end in some sort of large retaliatory measure because Iran really is on their back foot right now.
I mean, crude did spike. It went up $1, right, overnight. But yeah, it's just hanging up around 60 here. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's hovering around 60. I mean, it's not some large move, right? Crude's already at 60.
Right. Okay. What else? We talked Baba. We talked Microsoft Nuance. We talked Middle East peace.
Well, we got your favorite antibody, Regeneron.
Well, how is the Regeneron doing? I haven't looked at it.
Regeneron's doing great. So Regeneron early this morning announced phase 3 prevention trial showed an 81% reduced risk of symptomatic COVID infections with what's a subcutaneous administration of REGEN-COV. So basically, it's, you know, remember when Trump took it, it was in its experimental phase. It was in it wasn't publicly available. It was still in its trial essentially when he took it back in December. Yeah. Or was it? Or no, it was October, I think. And so now, so now we're getting phase 3 trial results, and look, turns out, it's pretty good. 81% reduced risk. You know, that's pretty good.
And this is not the vaccine. This is the antibody.
No, yeah.
This is the treatment, right?
Correct. This is basically if you get sick, you know, and you go to the hospital, this is something that they would give you essentially.
Right. I haven't looked at the Regeneron for a minute, but it is down 1% today for whatever that's worth. I've noticed that with a lot of these headlines, these COVID related headlines for these pharmaceuticals, whether it's Regeneron, whether it's Pfizer or whomever. Good news or not, seems like a lot of it is already priced in before the news is out. So
that's true, but it did gap up this morning as well, like you know, on that news.
Yeah, you could see at 8:30. That must be when the news came out, or 8 o'clock. Gap up and then just faded, gave it all back at the open. And then some. So interesting trade. Trade there in Regeneron. One
last one, just to make our editor Jason Chibnall very, very happy. WrestleMania. Yeah. WrestleMania sold out. First event with crowds in a year, and WrestleMania over the weekend sold out. And if you want to read his review of it, we have a review on benzinga.com.
I wanted to talk to Chubbs on Friday. I didn't get the chance because we had our quarterly meeting, but they had announced Thursday night that they're doing an Undertaker NFT. And
nice.
Of course, nobody on the news desk saw it except for Chubbs because this is his beat. He's the wrestling guy. Nobody pays too close attention to this stock, but Chubbs saw it and he had the news. He had the headline Thursday night.
Absolutely.
And, all right, I'll have to talk to him on Friday about this because this is our managing editor's favorite company in the world. Maybe not.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. Good call on that. So that was this past weekend, you said? Yeah.
That was I believe Saturday and Sunday.
Nice.
And again, Chubbs wrote a review of it for benzinga.com, and that is up on the website.
Nice.
You can probably just search WWE or WrestleMania.
There we go. Steve Krause, Benzinga's Newsmaster General. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much. Good luck, everyone.
All right. It is 11 o'clock. That's a wrap for me. We've got Spax Attack up next, and we got a good one for you. As Ryan Faloona said earlier on the Benzinga Pro showcase, let me bring up the news feed so y'all can see it one more time. Falcon Capital, FCAC, is your ticker. The CEO of their merger partner, ShareCare, his name is Jeff Arnold. The company being bought by Falcon Capital will be on Spax Attack at 11:15. That's in 15 minutes from now. So I'm going to hop off. I'll let them hop on. Everyone, if you didn't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We appreciate that. I have to hop, and this stream will redirect straight to Spax Attack. Looking forward to that.